Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I once more apologize for joining late. It's actually time for prayer at 7 o'clock here, so I was praying when it started. So, and going back to the discussion, I can see what Mr. Obunike was saying, and it was actually making a whole lot of sense regarding political party arrangement in Nigeria. So the problem, the root cause of all these political challenges we have, by the way, I am a member of APC, and of course you understand the crisis that we are having now between the APC and all the political parties having a whole lot of instability. So the root cause of the problem and what is causing political turbulence in Nigeria's political space is because we did not actually fundamentally define the principle of what's supposed to govern a political party participation. And what's supposed to be the principle to govern political party is actually ideology. It's something that is coming from psychological inclination towards each member to participate in a given community to exercise his democratic right. So the root cause of democracy itself, the root of democracy itself is actually political party, and what defines the political party participation is your inclination towards believing into the principles and structures of the party, and also its direct connection with your social, moral, and even economic disposition towards a society. That is actually what defines the principle of left and the right ideology. Like contemporary Americans, if you look at, I can say Western democracies, they have usually 4 keywords that define where a politician or a person who wants to participate actively in politics is supposed to be defined, whether that person is going on the right or the person is going on the left. And this is actually going everywhere, including within the family system, down to individual level. Of course, the left value the individual, while the right family. So there are about 4 keywords, as I mentioned earlier. We have order, we have justice, we have equality, we have stability. For people on the right, their principal priority is usually order and stability. And that is why sometimes you will see recently Trump was tweeting law and order. That's actually because he's a rightist political ideology, and therefore what they are pushing for is order and stability. That's why you see them pushing for making sure that the economy is booming, pushing for make sure that there is a huge level of deregulation and privatization and all those kind of things. Now, if you go back to the left, it's about equality and justice. Like currently you see what is happening in the United States about Black Lives Matters and stuff like that. People may think it's actually really Black Lives Matters, but the fact is that it's a political agenda pushing for equality. And that's actually the principle governing the left ideology. Now, if you go to every other individual, the concept of creation of nature, like that is governing individual disposition towards things, are usually governed around these key angles. So you can be extremely right by making sure that either order or stability or nothing, and you can be extremely left by making sure that either stability or justice or nothing, or you can be center right or center left or center right. So that's exactly what is defining the political party. So it's a willingness and inclination of individual psychology towards his own intention to participate actively in the way his country is being governed. So that is actually what makes a political party system. But in our case in Nigeria, it's just a group of people with one aim. We want to grab power. And that is why jumping from one party to the other becomes like changing buses. So when you are going to a certain destination, you can shift from one bus stop to another, changing different buses or changing your plot, simply because there is nothing that is actually driving you to get into that particular political party other than to grab power and get what is the benefit in sharing the resources that is associated by being in power. So until we define what is it that makes me to participate in APC or PDP or any other political parties, something that is going to attract me, something that even if I am not sitting on the table. I knew that this group of people are actually protecting my interests, the interests of my principles, the interests of my beliefs, and the interests of the system that I am sure my children, great-grandchildren, and generations to come are secure and safe. Then you will always have turbulence. Political party is actually a community where different people need to come together, to stay together, to work together, to achieve a given aim. A situation whereby it's coming down to a level whereby you need law to define who should be what in a political party clearly shows you how the kind of bridges, the kind of walls that have been built within even the party structure. And this is really a very serious issue. Like, look at what is happening today in APC, our party, where the president have to quickly intervene to be able to bring sanity into the system. Why? Because there's different litigation, counter-litigation, definition of right and wrong that are completely ambiguous, making the whole system going into a complete confusion that you, especially us that are not like people that are within the official cycle, were even confused as to who is actually the national chairman. Because you listen to legal representation from the chairman, Mr. Adams Oshomole, Commander Adams Oshomole, who was the disbanded national chairman. You hear that the legal person, because we are not lawyers, so we are laymen, we listen, we just understood based on the interpretation they gave us. What they will say, they will have their own justifications. When you go to the other side, there is also justification. So you remain like someone who is suffering from irreparable swimming. You don't really know what is really happening until a final decision is reached, which you don't even have control over at all. So this is serious confusion simply because there is no ideology governing political party participation. And once we get these things right, by connecting why we should participate actively in politics, something that is driving me and my own feelings, something that is impulsively pushing me to go and participate and actively interact and get my governance system in accordance to the principle for which I believe as an individual or as a family, we will always be having this kind of confusion. So where we get it right from the word go was in the setup and establishment of the political party system. So until we get the main reason, as I mentioned earlier, why I am belonging to this political party, somebody like me, I'm a conservative. You know, I may be a progressive conservative. I believe in culture. Like some of you that have been following some of my activities, you see I always advocate for Almajiri system. People were like, in this 21st century, why are you still advocating for the continuation of Almajiri system? It should be discarded. I said, no, I want it to be reformed to conform to modernity. That is a conservative belief in a progressive direction. So somebody will now tell you that he like gay. I would say, no, I don't believe a woman or a man. I don't believe a man should be a gay or a woman should be lesbian. I believe there should be married, there should be family. That is a belief in conservative. So that is even one of the reasons why I actively identify with APC, because some of the traits of President Muhammadu Buhari, who is the leader of the party, happen to conform to the principle of this conservatism, which I seem to somewhat agree with some, not all, but some of it. So these are the kind of things that's actually driving political party participation. It's not just, I just obtain my membership card and I join, and then we struggle to get power. To what end? So this is exactly why I think we need a comprehensive review of the process of registering a political party. They must come with a definite, a structured ideological disposition to why they are bringing the members into the system. And also, of course, you cannot have multiple political parties if you really break it down into these ideological corners, as I mentioned earlier. That's why you see advanced democracies, you only see multiple political parties. Even if you have so many political parties, you will have them in maybe small constituencies struggling for kind of smaller power. But at the center, there are always major political parties because the entire system is designed around the right and the left. And you only have one right and one left. It can be center, it can be extreme, but at the same time, it's still right or left. So that's actually why I believe we have the problem. And that is why if we continue in this direction, especially our generation, with the younger generation coming into the political space, if we did not carefully review and define this set of principles that is governing why we should be there, we will always be subjected to the northern and the southern and the Christian and the Muslims and the black man and the white man kind of political participation, which are very dangerous red lines that are capable of creating more destruction than even making a society. But once you define it according to this natural disposition to human impulse towards action, which is this order, stability, justice, and equality structure, you find out that you don't have to belong to any particular religion. Naturally, somebody is just like that. Even in a family, you will see sometimes the mother is more terse, she is more correcting, she is more disciplinarian, but the father is too liberal. This is just a natural thing. Even within children, you will see some people are this way and some people are that way. People are created with their own natural disposition to what impulsively drives them to action. So until we define this thing, we will always be subjected to religion, to tribalism, to sentiment, segregative politics that is always amplifying our red line, something we should try as much as possible to avoid. That's actually my view regarding these political party issues in Nigeria. Thank you very much.